is such a great pleasure for me to be the host. It's really great privilege and honor always to join Ustadz Mamoon and all of you distinguished brothers and sisters. So let's start with some recitation of some verses from the Holy Quran. Fatiha, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen Ar-Rahmanir Rahim Maliki Yawmiddin Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in Ihdinas siratal mustaqim Siratal ladzina an'amta alayhim ghairil maghdubi alayhim waladdallin. Ameen. So may Allah accept our time, our effort, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward abundantly to Ustaz Mamoon and all our participants. So first of all, once again, it's my great privilege and honor to have a few words about Ustaz Mamoon, especially for our guests who might be joining for the first time. So Ustaz Mamoon is a senior consultant, advisor, and Director of Global Community Development at Murabbi. And he has more than 30 years of training experience. So I must say, all of us are very, very fortunate to learn from his. And Ustad Mamoon is also an Adair ACL, that is accredited leadership trainer. Uh, so just to recap a little bit, that recently Ustad Mamoon has conducted some training webinars for all of us. Back in April this year, there was a webinar on leadership based on prophetic model. Then in June, Ustad Mamoon conducted on human resources development in Islam, the concept, and in July, Ustad Mamoon conducted another training session on human resources development in Islam, the process. That was the particular focus. And in August, Ustad Mamoon also conducted what and where of community development. And last session, which I also had the honor to host, it was what and why of community development. And today's particular session is very, very crucial for all of us because before we go any further, I want to express my feeling that the great thing in these seminars is that apart from learning and understanding, Ustad Mamoon is taking us to practical step, I mean, action plan, that how we can utilize all our learning to take practical actions, and how our learning and understanding and insight uh, could be executed in real life. So today's topic is how to raise and manage resources for project. That means basically charity work is really uh, getting more and more sophisticated, more and more organized. And our main topic is that how to raise, and most importantly, how to manage these resources when we are doing our charity work. So now over to Ustaz Mamoon, and we all be ready to enrich our understanding on this topic. Honorable Ustaz Mamoon.
Jazakallah khairan. Can you make me co-host so I can share the file?
Brother Yusuf.
Yes, brother.
Okay.
Can you do it now?
Yes, we
Okay.
can.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. As-salatu was-salamu ala Sayyidil Mursaleen wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajma'in. My brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum. It should be how to raise. It says how raise. I missed the one word. So how to raise and manage resources for projects. So what I'm going to do is here you can see these are the 7 sections of the presentation. It's around 40 slides, but I will skip through some of them rather quickly because Brother Yusuf has can circulate to those who want it this presentation in PDF, inshallah. So first I start off with Quran and Hadith quotations on paying for charity, then general quotations on charitable giving from international quotations, scholars and experts. And then how do we do research on donors, home and abroad? So before we ask for support, we need to do our research on donors so we can match it, so we get it right, instead of making mistakes and then we lose a good project. Then the submission of project application, and I will cover the core components. Then what are the resources that we need? Not just money, but there are other things that are resources. And then how do we manage those resources? And then, of course, last is how do we make decisions, keep records and report to members. Members means the general members of the organization. So now Quran and Hadith, you can see this is from Surah number 63, verse 10. It says, spend in the cause of Allah, and serving people to please Allah is also spending in the way of Allah. Helping a needy is also spending in the way of Allah. Feeding the family is also in the way of Allah. Just the intention is needed. All the good, you see, there is one thing I should make clear. Good deeds and pious deeds have difference. Good deeds are all good deeds. Pious deeds are the good deeds that are intended to please Allah. So the niyyah, the intention, is to connect with Allah and to seek pleasure of Allah in doing all the normal things we do to help each other, to help the family, to help the community, help the needy, all those things, all the charitable things we can do. Only thing that's needed to make it pious, that we get dunya and akhirah both, is to make it pleasure of Allah as our intention. Not the praise of people, but pleasure of Allah. So here it's saying, particularly, oh my Lord, why did you not reprieve me a while that I should have given in charity and become of the righteous? This is actually Surah Munafiqun. This is basically it's saying, لولا أخرتني. This is يا أيها الذين آمنوا لا تلهكم أموالكم ولا أولادكم عن ذكر الله ومن يفعل ذلك فأولئك هم الخاسرون ومن يفعل ذلك فأولئك هم الخاسرون. Then it says you spend. This is the yes. I just lost that next verse I memorized. So وَلَنْ يُؤَخِّرَ اللَّهُ نَفْسًا. This is to spend, and then says وَلَنْ يُؤَخِّرَ اللَّهُ نَفْسًا إِذَا جَاءَ أَجَلُهَا. So when the death comes, they say, Allah, give me time. I will do sadaqah and I will be among the righteous. Allah will say, وَلَنْ يَأْخِرَ اللَّهُ نَفْسًا إِذَا جَاءَ أَجَلُهَا. When the death time, appointed time has come, there is no extension, there is no respite, there is no extra time. So we need to be able to do charitable work, helping each other for the sake of Allah, doing all the good things, but for the sake of Allah, then good things becomes pious things. Okay, so this is one verse. Another verse is, whatever Allah has given us, we spend until before the day comes when there will be no buying or selling, and friendship or intercession will not be of any good. And then spend their goods in charity by night and day, in secret and in public. Allah says they will be rewarded. So all this spending, Allah will reward only if it is done for the sake of Allah. If I'm feeding my family, for the sake of Allah. If I'm helping my neighbor, it's for the sake of Allah. It's all serving humanity for the sake of Allah. Okay. And then it's another two verses from Surah Al-Baqarah. Be steadfast in prayer and regular in charity. Then very important, this is 263 from Surah Al-Baqarah, that kind words and the covering of faults of others are better than charity followed by injury. Sometimes we give charity, then we say, I helped you, I gave you money, and you are doing this, that, and the other. When we do this thing, this is Surah Insan or Surah Dahr, Allah says, that those who help others and then they don't expect any return or even thank you. This is a very important reference, that we do it purely for Allah. We don't expect anything. Without expecting anything is the real pious charity work. So this is from Quran on charity. On Hadith, this is a famous Hadith from Muslim. إذا مات الإنسان انقطع عمله إلا من ثلاث صدقة جارية أو علم ينتفع به أو ولد صالح يدعو له. Three things that continue to give me benefit of reward from Allah. If I do sadaqah for the sake of Allah, and I impart knowledge again for the sake of Allah, and I have brought up children who will do dua for me. They will be pious children who will do dua for me. So this dua will go to my qabr. And Bukhari and Muslim both reported this, that if you spend on people, on the needy, on others, then Allah will spend on you, meaning Allah will help you on the Yawm al-Akhirah. Even Allah could do it in dunya. Okay. This is Bukhari and Muslim, that we should be doing charity until the last breath. And then Tirmidhi is saying those who are crafty, miser, and who keeps reminding people of what he has given will be denied paradise. Very dangerous warning for us. And also the shade on the day of the resurrection will be his charity. Charity will shield us from dangers on the day of judgment. So that's about Quran and Hadith. Let's look at some general quotes, really very interesting quotes. This is Martin Luther King Jr., civil rights leader of America, a non-violent protester. And you know that how much the white racists attacked him and his people, and he didn't do anything in return, any harm in return. He says life's persistent and most urgent question is, what are you doing for others? So doing for others, giving, is more powerful than taking. Giving is more honorable than taking. So this is the message here. Mother Teresa, a Dutch lady, Christian lady, who went to the slums of Calcutta or Kolkata in India, and look at how she took care of the most needy people and the most vulnerable people, most helpless and poor people in Calcutta. And she said, go out to the world today and love the people you meet. Let your presence light new light in the hearts of people. So my presence, my charitable presence, my charitable role will enlighten people, will give hope to people, give lights in the hearts of people. This is another very nice, do all the good you can, by all the means you can, in all the ways you can, in all the places you can, at all times you can, to all the people you can, as long ever as ever you can. It's a really beautiful reminder about doing something for others. And there is a saying, if you want to be happy, make someone happy. So this is really enjoyable. Another scholarly statement, happiness doesn't result from what you get, but what you give. So giving makes us happy, taking does not make us happy. Okay, so now we do some research. Research question. I have 7 questions here. Did we identify and assess community needs? You see, identification is what are the needs. Assessment is what are the most important needs. So we can classify them as some are more important than others, some are essential, some are desirable. Some are survival needs and some are protective needs. Some are supplementary needs, some are core needs, like that. So, and then we need to look at which needs we need to address. That's where the assessment will give us priority. And then we need to have justifications to the donors. Donors need to know why they should fund this project. Then we also need to select donors at home or abroad. How do we select? I'm going to address that. What are the key contents of the application that we will submit? So we need to understand that, and it's a logical, structured, and not complex. It's simple. You will see the logic behind and the sequence that the application should represent. Then there's also convincing donors to fund the project, meaning this is also giving some approach where donors would prefer to give the funding. And how to win donors' confidence after funding. They have funded, but they need to feel happy that the funding has done some good work that they wanted to achieve. So this is also important for us. Now, identifying, assessing, prioritizing community needs. In order here, we talked about identify, assess, prioritize, then justification and other things will come. So first is we identify needs. How? Primary data, government data that they have collected from all homes. Usually every 10 years there is census data, and within that there are education data, economic data, family data, so we can use that. Secondary data, maybe we have, school has some data about the neighborhood, okay, in the neighborhood where we want to work, where we want to run the project. We can issue questionnaires. The interesting thing about questionnaire is that there are basically three kinds of questionnaire we can prepare. One is simple yes and no answers. This is called closed questions. You can't say more. Are you a man? Are you a woman? The answer is yes and no. So that's a closed question. The open question is, how do you feel, or what do you think should be done? That's an open question. People can explain things. So but then if you open it and everybody says many things, you cannot actually analyze it. For analysis, the best thing is the third option, which is that you give them multiple choice answers, and then if they want to add some comments, give a comment space. So this is the kind of questionnaire that would give you best results, because you then you can summarize it, you can make an assessment, and you can analyze the data, and then you can make conclusions and then prepare projects accordingly. You can set up focus groups. You can a focus group which will discuss the issues from different angles. So you may have a lawyer, an educationist, an Islamic scholar, an accountant, a manager, all these, and community leader. They will come from their own angles, and then they focus on this issue of what's the most important need in the community, and therefore we need to prepare a project for it. We also can use our observation, meaning we can see the road is broken, the houses are dilapidated, and the field is overgrown grasses. So when we see these, we can see people are thin, they are not fed properly, they're not their health is not good. You can see the clothes, dirty clothes, that they do not have good clothes. So we can also supplement all these in order to identify needs by observation. So all these methods are used to identify the needs. To assess the needs, we need to see the survival needs first, and how many people are affected. That's the scale. The survival needs are the needs that will make someone live, and scale is how many people are affected in the community. So this is where we make the assessment. Okay, and then we can look at what can the NGO we can do from our NGO. What is our capacity? We can't deal with everything, so we can look at where we can intervene, or what kind of projects that we are able to provide for some support. We cannot solve every problem, but we need to do what according to our capacity. Beyond our capacity, then we will fail. So we need to also match it with our capacity and see how much we can do from the identification and assessment of needs. Then we also cross-check. We have come to a conclusion, but we cross-check with the concerned community, those for whom we are trying to develop projects. We talk to them. we share with them our conclusions and cross-check and confirm that that's also how they feel. Because it's not that if I want to know your opinion, I will tell you that. That's not the right way. If I want to know your opinion, I will ask you that. So we can check their opinion also. And the stakeholders, we need to win in order to support the project. Stakeholders are those who are running the project, those who are funding the project, those, the legal authority, they will want to see that this is all done legally, and financial authority will see that finance raised and used are properly done. All these, and of course the beneficiaries, all of them are stakeholders because they have a stake. They are interested. So therefore, those who have a stake are the stakeholders. Okay. Now let's look at justifications. There are two justifications. One is the benefit justification, another is the cost justification. Benefit justification is what vital and urgent needs will be met. So for the people, what are we trying to meet? Which are the vital and urgent needs of the community that we want to meet? So this is the benefit side. Which vulnerable people will be supported? How many needy people will benefit from it? So these are core questions about justifying why the donor should fund it, because these are the benefits that they can bring about by their funding, by their support. Okay. And also to show cost, if the project is not supported, what are the impact, what are the consequences of not supporting the project? So there are three questions again. What loss the needy people will suffer if there is no support, no project to benefit them? What social risks may be increased? Like if they are desperate, they will maybe they will rob, they will go into crime, they will burgle homes, they will steal. There may be social conflict and violence. All those are social risks. So we need to show that if they are not supported, these are the consequences, because they need to survive, and for survival, they will do whatever they will need to do, legal or illegal, moral or immoral, they will do because they have to survive. And then the socioeconomic costs, if that happens, the cost to society will be, if there is a broken window or the damaged car, so there will be cost to it. And if there is injury, there is cost to it, because there is going to be police involvement and hospital involvement, and possibly legal authority involvement. All these will become socioeconomic costs. So, for example, I was giving a lecture to Police Training Academy in Manchester, where I said that if Muslims follow, if you support Muslims in following their religion, they will be more pious and they will not damage property, they will not injure others, they will not get involved in violence, and therefore you will have peace from them. They will not create work for you, and they will not create risk for you. And the hospitals will not have extra people injured by the bad people. So this way, there are socioeconomic costs involved if we don't support them. Now let's look at project application funding. In terms of selecting donors, we need to check the conditions or strings that the donors impose. Some may impose political conditions, that we are giving you funding, you cannot criticize our mistakes or our wrongdoings. There may be cultural, they want to change, like the missionary people fund projects and change their culture. From local culture, they become Western culture. There are social conditionings, and there are personal conditions. All those strings, what they expect, not just running the project, but they expect more than that. So that's why we need to be alert that where we are going, choose donor wisely, so that they don't dictate you additional, they don't buy your mind, put it this way. They don't buy your culture, they don't buy your religion, they don't buy your day-to-day thinking. So this is where we need to be alert about selection. Interesting is, in the Middle East, the donors are very disorganized So if you write something, they will never reply. But if they fund, they don't carry the strings that the Western donors carry. They will not dictate things like that. So it's in the Middle East, the donors are, shall we say, much less strings, and some are no strings. Then we need to know that donors like to see that the project is earning something, not entirely 100% dependent, but there is an income generating component that they will generate some income for the project, so that in the future, the project can run by itself. So all projects need to prepare an income generating component that will grow over time. Also, we need to check, is the donor funding a similar project nearby? So that therefore there is no duplication or conflict of interest. So these are issues related to selecting donors. Now, convincing donors. So first I said the select donors that have lowest adverse influence on the project. That means they don't dictate many terms that change the nature of the community. So GCC is Gulf Cooperation Council, 6 countries, rich countries, oil countries. ISDB is the Islamic Development Bank. OFID is OPEC Fund for International Development. This is oil producing countries club called OPEC. Oil exporting countries are called OPEC. Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries, OPEC. And OPEC Fund for International Development is part of OPEC. So this is where they fund, and the Islamic Bank and the OFID are the 2 application forms I will give you. Although Islamic Development Bank no longer has that funding option, but the application will give you a good understanding of how to apply for projects. Then we need to check that donor decision-making process and timetable. How do they make decisions? What are the stages to go through, and what time, so that we can match our needs with their timetable, our needs with their decision-making process. Okay. And then donor relationship is a very important point that we sometimes ignore. Appoint a person with suitable expertise. Let me give an example. When I was in Jeddah, an Islamic Development Bank, a man came from Bangladesh for a project. He neither knew English nor Arabic. How would he communicate with? So he asked me to take him to different donors' offices and talk to them for him. Now, that's not the way to convince a donor. Okay, this is one component, one side of it. Can you mute wherever the sound is coming from? Okay, so you need, and I said Surah Fatiha, Surah Al-Fatiha style is what? We are asking guidance from Allah, but first we are not saying Allah give us. The Surah Al-Fatiha is application for guidance, which comes Ihdina Sirat al-Mustaqim. Please guide us in the right path, towards the right path. But before then, we say some other things. So this is the nice way, polite way, and convincing way to appeal for help. First is we praise Allah. We recognize Allah's authority, power, kindness. Okay, and Yawm al-Qiyamah, Allah will be the final authority, absolute authority. We will have nothing. Whatever freedom we have, we will not have. So this is where we recognize Allah's status. Okay, and then Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in says, what's the relationship between Allah and me? Allah is my Lord, I'm Allah's slave. So after that, we are saying, Ihdina Sirat al-Mustaqim, please guide us. So in other words, we need to create conditions and a mindset, an environment, a supporting, convincing situation, so that we prepare the donor's mind in order for the donor to help. So we need a suitable expertise, meaning the language, the ability to explain things properly, and to convince the donor. Then after funding, follow up with the donor with polite, positive, and professional manners. So we need to follow up with them and give them qualitative, quantitative data, meaning quantitative, the number we have achieved, how many people we have helped, how much money we have spent, how much time we spent, how many volunteers we have organized. These are quantitative numbers. Qualitative is how happy the recipients of the service have been, and how, what's their comment. Add some comments that this is so good for us, we are very happy, etc., etc. So this is qualitative, means how the beneficiaries feel about the project help that they have received. Okay, so these are very important components. Now in the application, now we are going into application. We have been into preparation now. First, the donors don't want to know about the project. First, they want to know what's the organization doing? What's the organization's purpose of existence? What do they do? What kind of board they have? What kind of staff they have? What kind of volunteers they have? What quality they have? All these things they want to know about organization, what achievements they have. Then you go into from organization to project. Don't talk about project first. First is organization that is sponsoring the project, that's applying for the project. Then you talk about the project purpose, what the project is about, what the project is trying to achieve. So specify the project purpose and see if that purpose and the donor's purpose match. If not, then you will not fund it, get funding. You need to match the project purpose with the donor's purpose. Then that's how the donors will see that through you, they can actually donate to the community. Okay. Then demonstrate how the project will give high value for money. So value for money, meaning return in social benefit, economic benefit, community benefit. So that's value for money. If people are very happy, that's high value for money. If people are unhappy, that's very low value for money. So, and in the short term, what would be the value for money, the return on the investment for the donor, and in the long run? In the long term, the benefits will be more. So we need to demonstrate, we need to show that this is how the project will give benefit to the people and therefore the donor. So in order to do that, the next step is to provide a budget. Budget means income and expenditure. Cash flow projection means how much cash is expected to come and how much cash is expected to be spent. So this is budget showing income and expenditure, and this is called cash flow projection. Projection means it's not happened yet, but it is projected, it's expected, it's likely to happen. So it's planning. So income, it's called inflow and outflow of cash, money coming in and money going out. So if they see that it's organized and it's in that manner, they will understand that the organization and the project is worth investing in. It would be most beneficial if you have a recommendation letter or letters from credible individuals like your local MP or like the mosque imam or chairman or any major Islamic organization personality or a major VIP kind of person people recognize. If it is local, then a local person who is recognizable. It's also institution. An institution can make recommendation. Like from London, Islamic Cultural Center, which is called London Central Mosque. If they give recommendation because it is funded by Saudis and run by Egyptians, then it has a lot of value. East London Mosque being the biggest in Europe, East London Mosque and London Muslim Center, if they give, if the chairman gives or the chief imam gives a recommendation, it will have an impact. So this way, we need to have some recommendations from some people, not necessarily all Muslims. Now, section by section, I have broken it down. So section 1 about the project contact. the contact person is, what's the credibility of the contact person? The contact person is a professional, has been doing this, that, and the other, and has a qualification, is holding this position in the organization. So this is about the person who will deal with the donor. Second is the organization, some summary about the organization, and then the project to be funded, the title of the project. Is it educational project or health project or job creation project or other projects? It's what type of project is it? Will the project benefit disadvantaged people? Is it to bring people out of difficulty, or it's to promote people's progress? So there is problem solving and progress making. The two P's we need to keep in mind. What is it for? Is it to remove the deficit or make progress on those who have no deficit? So it could be both. Both can be supported. And then the country, the project, or the location of the project. Budget details, budget details. Now I said cap and rev. Cap rev is capital budget and revenue budget. Capital budget is if you buy furniture, you're not going to buy every year. So this is called capital, is one-off, meaning it will take time before its replacement is needed. So a computer, a laptop, if you buy a laptop, it's going to last a few years. So this is called capital, meaning it's not every year expenditure. Revenue is ongoing expenditure, like bills, like salaries, like office rent, like electricity, gas, telephone. These are continuous expenditure. This is called revenue. So capital and revenue expenditure will have to be there, and then you have to show income from voluntary donations, from income generating projects, from selling things, or from fundraising on the street, or doorstep fundraising. All these things we need to look. Budget starts with expenditure and ends with income. So where the gap is, and they can see. Then the impact of the project to be specified. How would it create a contribution to socioeconomic benefit and individual benefit to the people? Okay. Reporting to donors. We need to, once funded, we need to regularly report the achievements with photos, data, and reports. Data is numbers, photos, data, and reports. Report is kind of some detailed narrative. Okay, so regularly meaning it can be 3 monthly or 6 monthly. Usually, if you leave it to the year, it is also possible, but it is worth checking out with donor how frequently they want it, so that you can fulfill their expectations. You can also share future project plans and invite them to see the project. Many funding funders actually come and visit the project if it is not international. If it is local, they will. Islamic Development Bank, if it is funding a school building, it will always visit. It used to visit. I have visited myself, but giving scholarship where is done through a local NGO with whom there is partnership. So actually, when funding people visit, they actually give more. So it's always good to tell them, this is the project we are applying. These are our ideas for future project plans. And please come and see what we are doing. And it is actually by seeing that they become more convinced than by telling them. We can also ask them for advice, guidance. If they wish to give, what kind of thing they would like to see. And they will like it, because you are not just telling them, you are asking them. If they're happy with the project performance, you can ask them if they would like to write an appreciation letter, so that you can use that for another funding source, another donor. That, look, we received funding from them and we have been appreciated by them. Here is the proof. Okay, this is very beneficial. The last section, I think, not last section. This is section 5. We have 7 sections. Resources needed. Now, the question is, what is resources? And particularly non-financial resources. We talk about money. I talked about money, but there are other resources. And the resources need to be managed. Economy, efficiency, and effectiveness. I will explain those 3 terms because it's very, very important. 3E formula for as a basic assessment of any organization and performance. There are others, but at the basic level, the 3 E's are most important. And how to make major decisions for key issues and report actions and record decisions in meetings. These are key issues on resources. These are the resources. You can see 7 resources I listed. Board manage those who make policy decisions, the chair, the secretary, the treasurer, and other members. If you have a variety of expertise there, then the board is strong. And if they work together well, the board is strong. This is the people's strength. So people are most important resource. The staff are resource. The volunteers are resource. So, and the community as a whole resource, but these are the people who provide the help. Okay, so these are the most important resources. We need to utilize those resources well. Then you have the people, but there is expertise. Some people have high experience and expertise. So that means competence. That competence is important. Some people can do something better than others. And some people cannot do it at all. Some people, let's say somebody who is a banker helping out, he can help on money management and in investment and recording and reporting better than anybody else because he deals with money. He's a banker. So this way, we need to see that we have competence. So that's the resource. Not just people, but what they can do is a resource. What they have experience and expertise in is a resource. Then you have network and contact. You know someone, that means you can influence it. So I can say, for example, if somebody wants help, I can give you an example that I visited Austria and a Turkish Muslim organization, Austrian Turkish organization, quite big organization, they came to see me because I was working in Islamic Development Bank. They wanted to expand their secondary school into primary school because they don't have the feeder school. So they wanted a project to be funded by Islamic Development Bank. So they asked me, so I advised them, I guided them to prepare the project. I refined the project. That's after my retirement. I refined the project. I edited the project preparation and strengthened it because they have lots of information they didn't give. Like they didn't give that they were catering for 16 ethnicities in their school. They didn't give that they had 25 people passing from pre-university courses and 20 of them went into normal university play, they found. So that means they are 80% of them, their students graduate from their school and go into universities, 80%, which is a very high proportion for one school. So this way, then what I did was I made an appointment with my director. I retired at that time, my director, and made an appointment for them. So then they could submit. Now, if it was normal by mail sending formally, it could take longer. But instead, it took a few months for it to be submitted and meet the director himself. Instead of the project officer, and above him is the manager, and above him is the director. influence as resource. People, competence, influence, materials, credibility, achievements, and money. I put money at last because those things are more important than money. And those things bring money. If we start with money, then we will have difficulty. So these are the resources we need to look at. Now, resource management is, I said, economy, efficiency, and effectiveness. Economy is low cost with high return in time and money from the money invested. Okay, that's economy. Efficiency is smooth, systematic, and timely operation process. So let's say a letter comes in, how does it get, what's the process until it's dealt with? Effectiveness is getting the results. It's quality and quantity performance in terms of results. So economy is financial and time cost. Efficiency is smooth operation, and effectiveness is getting the results. These three E's, if we have 3E management, it will help the project success. If not, then there will be chaos, confusion, and cost. There will be more than the cost. The donor will be unhappy. The money has been lost. They may tell other donors not to fund this project, this organization and project, because they have squandered money. So, and I said that QQQ is a formula I give, that Quran is the reference point and Hadith is the explanation of Quran. So it goes with Quran. Then we look at quality of performance and then the quantity of what we have done and what we have achieved. So quality, Quran quality quantity is our basically resource management formula. Management of project resources, there's human resource. I will not go into details. You can see all these things are there. Human resources, managing financial resources is, it should be raised, banked, and recorded. Okay, expenses to be approved. A budget is to be allocated. Who will spend money up to how much is to be authorized. A policy procedure to control the cash flow, and monthly or quarterly record and report to seniors. Petty cash role to be given to staff under a leader. All people handling money should be accountable to seniors. And there should be auditing, means checking of the financial books and records and receipts internally, and if it is big organization, externally too. And the staff leader and the treasurer to have the ultimate responsibility on money. Then the material resources, all the building and equipment, vehicle, books, files, all these to be taken care of and managed properly so that they are in good order. Network to be managed and partners to be developed. So this is always follow ethical, moral, legal compass. This is an important issue, and always maintain win-win purpose and process. So there are other things I've said, you will see later. Managing stakeholders, the beneficiaries, the wider community, the funding bodies, the board, the staff, all of them are stakeholders. So, and it should be these details, all key decisions to follow standard policy procedure with equal opportunity and fairness. Okay. Last part is section 7 is deciding, recording, and reporting. Follow the decision-making power structure in this constitution. The constitution is the rule book by which an organization runs. So make sure that that is honored always and that's followed. Otherwise, it is illegal to break your own rules, and you will be liable by the legal authority to have violated. So decision-making and who has what power as given in the constitution. Policy and budgets versus routine operational matters. I say this because the board will make policy and budget decisions, allocation of budget, and then day-to-day management is on the staff leader, and the board will not interfere. The staff leader reports to the chair of the board, but board will not dictate on a day-to-day basis what is done, what is not done, and how it is done, and when it is done. If that's interfered with, then the staff leader cannot give the best performance. So this is where This is where I say staff leaders to take operational decisions on a daily, weekly, monthly basis with their staff, and recording, reporting of decisions and actions by board and staff team to each other. That's important because that flow of information and decisions and reporting should be there. Board can delegate some decisions to its leaders, like the chair and treasurer can be delegated some limited authority. Whatever they want to do, board can withdraw that authority. Emergency decision-making mechanism should be there, agreed by the board as to who will take emergency decision and how and when. So this is also to be recorded so that it's not done without authority. The board is the authority, and board runs according to constitution, and board can delegate some authority for a period or ongoing to some individuals who are in the board or the staff leader, and all decisions to be reported. This is recording. Policy and money decisions must be recorded. The other decisions can be very briefly recorded. The files to be kept so that a handover is possible. So these are important things about recording decisions and reporting to seniors. Okay. Now this is appendix. I'm saying that practical training on project funding application, this is not for everyone, but those who want to do. I will give the next webinar on practical training. That means prepare an actual funding application form from an actual funding body. So I will give you Islamic Development Bank and OFID, OPEC Fund for International Development. These two forms I have collected. So you can fill the form, and I will go through the forms in order to give you feedback. Because most of my life I have been a funding body person. Therefore, I can give you feedback. So it is recommended for you. It is not compulsory. That's why I call optional. I will give you feedback showing where you are strong and where you're weak, so you can make it better. So if there is time, I will also do 1 or 2 interviews of funding. So next webinar, 14th of November, Hong Kong time, 4 o'clock, same time, same second Sunday, will not be a presentation from me, but a feedback session for your project applications that should come. I will give it to Brother Yusuf, the 2 forms. You fill the form, well thought out a project application form, and I will study it. And on that day, I will take you through it. Okay. So that's where I conclude. May Allah give us all the ability to understand this process. Is not complex, but it's logical, sequential, but there are a lot of core components that I mentioned, so that you can actually gain insight into the entire edifice, entire structure of organization, project, funding, and management. May Allah help us and guide us. Wa ma tawfiqi illa billah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Back to you, Brother Tahir.
Jazakumullah khair, Ustadz Mamoon. As I very humbly mentioned in my intro, that one of the very invaluable and fruitful component of Ustadz Mamoon's presentation is that it takes us to practical landscape, that we could, how we could execute and how we could practically use his teachings to towards community development. Ustadz Mamoon, if you allow me, can I ask a quick question?
Sure.
And after my question, can we have a few minutes so all our brothers and sisters who are joining this webinar, please feel free to raise your questions. So can we have like around 5 to 10 minutes for the Q&A sessions? Yeah. So my question is that all of us in this webinar and those who might be watching the recording of this, so obviously it's very inspiring, very practical, very stimulating, and very well organized. But the question is that all of us from different backgrounds, some of us are teachers, some of us are maybe community leaders, and in our different capacities. So after this, what is your precise advice for us that from here where we should be, uh, I mean, what should be next step for us? What I mean, for example, if we belong to some organization, obviously we should be implementing some of these learning in our organization, in any different capacity. For example, if we are teachers, we could inspire our future leader. I mean, what should be precise steps that we could be prioritizing from here onwards?
I think the most important thing is to absorb what I've said and the logical sequence of steps that we need to take. It starts with a need as identification and assessment. Wherever the project, wherever organizations we belong to, whether it is education institution like the Hong Kong Islamic College or any NGO, we need to think in terms of the community needs, identify and assess. And that requires not just one person, maybe three people at least, to come together to discuss and think of all those needs and look through the data. So this is research work, basically. The first step is research work in terms of the process that I described. So it's actually quite compact, 40 slides that I have given. So you start off with thinking work. Of course, the preparation is that I'm going to do something for the pleasure of Allah to serve people. Kuntum khayra ummatin ukhrijat linnas. Allah says, you ummah, you have been selected to serve humanity. Are we serving humanity? Or are we serving just Muslims? And if there are two hungry people, one Muslim, one non-Muslim, we can't deny the non-Muslim. We have to serve both, because that's order of Allah. And so therefore we start thinking about humanity at large and the needy people at large, and then find out the identify what are the most important needs and assess them in terms of how serious they are and how many people are affected by it. That's the starting point. And then we start to do the research and build up on that. So we need to actually have our hearts and minds prepared for it, and then go into a group formation and to start digging. And we all have, despite all the differences in background, we all have these basic qualities that we can achieve, because we are human beings. We have basic talents already poured into us by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Some of us have demonstrated those talents by holding degrees, gaining degrees, etc. Some of us have no degree, but still by social action and community projects, we have gained a lot of expertise. So we can utilize all those. And if you look at my hand, they are all different fingers, but because they are different, they can work together and be a strong power. So similarly, we need different types of people, different backgrounds of people to work together to deliver those services to the people. Therefore, starting point is preparing the mind and heart, connecting with Allah's pleasure, and then start the work. And then let us go through it in a team formation, and then it will work. There is one issue I did not mention, which is that we call it storming, forming, norming, performing. That means storming means brainstorming. So we start off with brainstorming, then we form a group. Then we normalize ourselves into a cohesive group. Then we start performing. So that's how the teamwork should grow. And then we deal with the issues in front of us, inshallah.
Jazakumullah khair, Ustadz Mamoon. So thank you so much for your very comprehensive response to my question. And if I say just to reaffirm and recap my understanding of your explanation, that most importantly is that whatsoever step we are going to take as a follow-up is wholly thoroughly, without any doubt, only solely to seek the pleasure of Allah, connection with Allah, need-based analysis, and teamwork. These are the three things that I understand.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Thank you so much. And I think Brother Yaqub is requesting for a question.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Wa alaikum assalam, brother.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
I'd like to appreciate Dr. Mamoon that benefited a lot from the lecture I had from him. But I'm calling from Malaysia.
Can you speak up? I can't hear you well.
Okay. So I said, first of all, I really appreciate your lecture. I've benefited a lot from what I had from
Alhamdulillah.
you. Jazakumullah khairan kathira.
Alhamdulillah.
I'm calling from Malaysia.
Okay.
So please, I would like to, what I want is that I will appreciate if we can get the video of this lecture. If Brother Tahir or Brother Yusuf can do that, I would really appreciate that. So the video is very important to me, sir.
Okay, Brother Tahir, Brother Yusuf, would you like to reply to that?
Inshallah, we will upload in the YouTube in our channel, and maybe you can leave us with your number so that we can add you into our Telegram group. Then
yes, all of you download Telegram, because Brother Yusuf has set up Telegram group, because Telegram group can take many people and WhatsApp cannot. So please download Telegram and give your number to Brother Yusuf, he can add. I have a question in the chat box. You mentioned the donor may review the background information of an organization. How about individual who does not belong to an organization? What can happen is that the individual can take an initiative. If there are organizations around, you join the organization to strengthen it, and you contribute to it, because organization is a vehicle to provide service. So an individual cannot do something that a team can do, and team becomes ultimately an organization, because organization is formed by the agreeing rules and procedures of and the purpose of the group. So that becomes an organization. If three people come together, that it can become an organization, unless there is what you are trying to do, what you want to do, unless you find that there is no other organization addressing it. You can tell them that if they would like to take this particular project that you would like to contribute to, if they don't agree, then you and your friends and colleagues, I call it 3I. If you have interest and others have the same interest, then you get interest first and involved second with others with common interest, and that take initiative like this. So you become effectively an organization by forming another group. So this is called interest involvement initiative. So you can do that. Therefore, individuals cannot do and run any project. It has to be a team, and that team, when their formal rules, constitution is agreed, it becomes an organization. So, and you need to register. Otherwise, donors don't like unregistered organizations. You need to register where you are. So this is my answer to your question.
Thank you very much.
There's Brother Muhammad Fathi.
Yes.
Go ahead, brother.
Yeah, inshallah. Jazakallah khair, Brother Mamoon. Is really to recap and good help for everyone, inshallah. Yeah, there is another thing now is coming up with those fundraising and supporting and marketing activity and projects. It is the restriction related to the finance transaction. It is really now become, sometimes you can have a very good study for your project, but you cannot get any, maybe sometimes you get even approval for some help from donor, but you cannot get anything because it's not registered, what you call accreditation or registration regarding, for example, this is happening clearly with some country from Middle East or from the Gulf country like Qatar or Kuwait. You need to, there is a very long process which will involve many Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Ministry of Security, and the embassies where we can get accreditation. And I think everywhere this happened, maybe because in Qatar or Kuwait is very clear, you need to have it, but there is too many things behind the scene where you have to work out. Registration, of course, in your groups is definitely, and when you get the legal process is changing too much, where is requiring some justification, some police clearance, some very clear planning, very clear. Even now, when you open a bank account, it's really becoming hard and hard. Not like before, when you go and just open a bank account for your personal or commercial or whatever entity, you easily. Now not. You need to clarify where the money come from, why you need the money, why you need to open a bank account. So it's really becoming hard and hard. When you clarify like that, it's really it will help the new player in the field. And yeah, it's very good to add those information when you get some study for the new people or for new organization. Anyway,
Okay.
that's good, inshallah.
Thank you, brother. It's actually an important point that many Muslim organizations are not registered. And these days, even a simple bank account opening has become very difficult. Let me say here, I'm in charge of Tarbiyah, Talim and Tarbiyah of a major organization, Dawah organization in UK, and with its branches in 20 countries in Europe, East and West Europe. So this organization was formed in 1988, and I was one of them. And this organization was unregistered until 2 months ago, 2 or 3 months ago. And because the bank threatened to close the account, because what they call unincorporated organization can only have 5,000 turnover a year. But our organization has 200,000. So it was under pressure to register. Otherwise, they say, take your money. We cannot keep your account. So in the end, first time that it has been registered as a charitable company, because charity registration has some restrictions in terms of if you want to protest at Muslim oppression somewhere, you cannot do it. So charity commission registration will not allow it. It's only charity and no that kind of action. But company registration with a charitable purpose, you can do that. So we have done that. But that's, let's say, quite long time. It's 88. So it would be 12 years there and 21 years. That's 33 years after formation, we have registered. Because now, and most where you just fundraise from within the community and within yourself, you can do without registration, but you cannot have an account. You are quite right. Nowadays, on Money Trail, they have taken total control. I mean, there is no, but on a localized basis, you don't need registration. You can just do certain things, but international donors will not give. Community donors can give if you know them. That's where how we have been operating. We have not had any funding from any source. It's all from within the community, from ourselves, our well-wishers like that. So we have altogether human resources, let's say, maybe including Europe, about 10,000 people. So it is, the world has become more difficult for Muslims. And they automatically, if an Islamic organization is there, they immediately suspect something. They start off with negative. So these are practical difficulties. We have to navigate it. We have to navigate it wisely, legally, and morally, inshallah.
Inshallah. Ustadz Mamoon, Dr. Maulana from International Islamic University, Malaysia, wished to ask a question.
I have been waiting to hear from him.
Thank you, Prof. I am really grateful and thankful about today you are discussing on the community walks, and particularly you are trying to lift up the Muslim youths who wanted to go for educational career. So you are just rightly hitting the needs of the Muslim of Myanmar. Though I have been teaching in Malaysia for the last 15 years, but I have been working hard to promote the educational promotion of the Muslim of Myanmar. And you may hear the condition of Muslim of Myanmar, their problems and their discrimination.
I'm from Bangladesh, so
So you know very
we are
well.
hosting a
Yeah,
million Rohingya people.
Exactly, exactly. So what I'm now working on the lifting of the Myanmar Muslims educational activities is that in Myanmar there is no official Islamic university or college. All we have is all the madrasa. In all those madrasa, they only teach Quran and Sunnah. When we try to introduce the modern education, all of them they don't want it, they reject it. So with the assistance of International Islamic College in Malaysia, I try to establish International Intellectual College in Myanmar, which was registered with the Ministry of Education. So for that, we have to also establish a company officially, register with the Trade Ministry. After that, we get the MOU with the International Islamic, the college in Malaysia. And during last 2 years, university and colleges all are closed. So Muslim youth who pass matriculation, which is equivalent to O level of IGCSE, I hardly now collected about 15 students who have qualified marks and eligible to attend the college in our college in Myanmar. But the problem now what we face is the funding for this student. So in that case, I have applied to triple IT, uh, but their policy is they just only support to undergraduate, master, and PhD level. But for the student who are at the diploma or IGCSE A level, they don't support for this. Now, since you are opening up a way for us to, get assistance for that, I would really appreciate it if you could highlight or assist us. How could we get it? Right now, 12 students already received the offer letter from International Islamic College from Malaysia, but all are stranded because of this funding problem. Thank you, Prof.
Okay. This is about sponsorship to study in Malaysia, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So what you need to do is, I think that amount of money, you need to do some research about which donor will support that kind of sponsorship. I've been collecting some information about scholarships in different universities, and I'm compiling them. When it's complete, I will be able to share it with you.
Thank you.
But meanwhile, what you can also do is see if you can have an extension of the Malaysian college in, let's say, Yangon, if that's allowed. Then it will be much lower cost because the travel to another country, not taking the student from their own habitation, shall we say, the natural habitat. So keep them there and give them that support from external arrangements, whereby you can build the institution. The best institution is where the teachers are the best, not the building is the best, not the equipment is the best, because teacher makes the students learn best. If you go to Mauritania, for example, I have met Mauritanians, they have good scholars, but very basic living conditions. And people like Hamza Yusuf went to Mauritania and spent time with teachers there in very basic conditions. So they learned a lot more than a beautiful building and well-resourced equipment, things like that. So focus on teachers. So in order to get the college going in Yangon, you need to start thinking about what's first. First is not the funding, but the planning. And then focus on teachers, prepare the teachers. Initially, they let them do their jobs wherever they are doing, but give them, recruit them and train them in their spare time as preparation before you launch. And then you think in terms of how much income it can gain and how much income you need to build and equip that place, support the teachers. There I can take you through the steps. What happens is that if they stay there, then the next step would be the student recruitment. The student recruitment, those who cannot pay, those whose parents cannot pay, you can start to look for sponsors that minimum one student so much cost. And the cost in Malaysia would be much higher than cost in Yangon. So because they will be at home, there will be no rent to pay, for example. So work that out, then you can have sponsors from around the world who will pay, at least sponsor one student, those who cannot pay. There are varieties of measures you can take. You can have among the teachers the best regular teacher training, upgrading them. And because if you don't upgrade the teachers, they can't upgrade the students. So this is how you need to think. Your core business is get the quality teachers who are dedicated to teach and not there for money. So if you think of old times, the teachers were so dedicated, they were not looking for money. They were looking for best students. And think of teaching as a hugely respectable position, because if you see the most powerful person in the world, the president of the country, okay, or the prime minister of the country, and his teacher would be ahead of him, a respectable person by the president. Trump has or Biden had a teacher, or Imran Khan had a teacher. So all these people, teachers, in my view, teachers and doctors, if they're dedicated for service, they are the top two professions in of service. So start there. It's just an outline, but I can give you more details personally, inshallah. But I say extension of the same curriculum of the Malaysian college in Yangon. Think on in those terms. This is much more efficient and much cost effective.
Yeah, Prof, exactly what you have said. I have done it. And when this student learn at Malaysia, for example, they need to pay for the entire diploma course. Let's say if it is about 10,000, then we offer at Yangon minus of all their habitats in Malaysia with 5,000, for example, US dollar. So this is the way we have planned. We already got the academic collaboration from Malaysia. So
Great.
we have already established in Myanmar.
That's good. So we can discuss the details
inshallah,
when I meet you on a video meeting, so that I've given outline for everybody to benefit from. For each country, that's the way you can connect with a credible institution abroad, a Muslim institution abroad, so that in Nepal, the same thing can happen. In Tanzania, same thing can happen. In Nigeria, same thing can happen. So that wherever there is, you think that there is good connection, good institution, connect with that and be an affiliated body of that and follow the curriculum of that with Islamic and general learning curriculum together, because that's how we can produce good intellectuals and good scholars at the same time.
Yeah. Just one last question, bro. We have our symposium on 24th of this October. If there is no any other engagement at your side, I would like
what
to
time?
request you. 24th of
What's
October.
the time? Because
the
24th
time,
is my other webinar. That's the webinar for the other countries. This webinar is for the Far East and Pacific.
yeah.
And second Sunday for this webinar and fourth Sunday is for the other webinar. So that webinar is my time 3 to 5 p.m. What time is yours?
Right now in Myanmar is about 3:30 p.m. Sorry, 3:30 p.m. Correct. So this time is suitable for you, bro?
3:30 is Myanmar same as Hong Kong?
Yeah, correct.
Okay, that means 3:30 means if you can make it 4 p.m. like
4
this one, this program,
Yeah,
that would be better.
I will record it, bro. Inshallah ta'ala. 4
Okay.
p.m. Hong Kong time, Myanmar time.
Yes.
Inshallah, I will make it, and I will personally liaise with you also for detailed.
Okay.
Shukran jazilan, Sheikh. Ma'as-salam.
Okay. Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah. Yes, I will just book it now.
Yeah, inshallah.
Because I use Google Diary, so
Yeah.
and I set it so that it reminds me 24 hours ahead and half an hour ahead. So I don't have to remember it. This tells me.
It will remind
Okay.
you. Shukran
Brother-
jazilan. Ma'as-salam.
Wa alaikum salam.
Walaikum assalam.
Thank
Jazakumullah
you,
khair.
brother Tahir, moderator. Thank you, salam alaikum.
Walaikum assalam, brother. Yes, so we about to finish today's very, very fruitful webinar. Can I take the last question just for the last 2-3 minutes, if any brother and sister? If no one, so with dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless Ustadz Mamoon and all participants and all organizers abundantly for taking up your time for this very, very meaningful webinar. And let's pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala empower us to take some practical actions.
Ameen.
Jazakumullah khair. So any last word from Ustadz Mamoon before we close?
Just this is what I call very important, that ikhlas, dedicating our work to please Allah and doing all normal work. Only intention is to please Allah will give us salary in the other world, not just in this world. So if we can check on that and we get more barakah this way, because Allah will bless us much more, because we are doing it for Allah instead of our own reputation, our own honor and praise and whatever other things that may come. That may come, Allah can give it. But it is very important for us to be blessed if we want to connect with Quran and Sunnah. In every professional work we do, Allah and Rasul both have some guidance for us in professional life. And I have benefited from it by merging the two. So please, everybody, let's try to merge the two in order for us to have success in both worlds.
Ameen.
Because
Ameen.
Allah says in the Quran, Ma farratna fil kitabi min shay. I have not forgotten any major guidance in this book. So Allah and Rasul is giving us guidance, and therefore, and also Allah says, وَلَا تَنْسَ نَصِيبَكَ مِنَ الدُّنْيَا. Don't forget the blessings I have for you in dunya. So Allah is also teaching us, رَبَّنَا آتِنَا فِي الدُّنْيَا حَسَنَةً وَفِي الْآخِرَةِ حَسَنَةً. First ask the goodness of dunya, then ask goodness of akhirah. So that means for Muslims, we need to make the world a better place for others to live in peace, security, and joy. So that means the whole idea of these project preparation, etc., is to help others. That helping culture is Islam in action. May Allah help us and guide us. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk.
Ameen. Ameen. Jazakumullah khair.
Okay. Can
Assalamu alaikum.
everybody open your cam to take a picture, to take a big group
Yes,
photo
yes.
before we leave? Jazakallah khair for everyone.
So everybody who
Taking
can
the
open the
program.
camera, open, and a picture will be taken for by Brother Yusuf.
Yes, a request to all brothers and sisters, please
Dr.
turn
Omar
on
Farooq,
your
Dr. Ali,
camera.
Brother
Convenient.
Yaqub.
Yes.
Oh, sorry, I don't have camera.
Brother
It's
Faisal
okay.
Aziz, I can see.
If it is not convenient for some brothers and sisters, so it's all right. You can keep your name in front, but ideally, if we could open the camera. If not convenient, it's fine. Your name is there.
I'm sorry, I don't have camera.
It's okay.
It's okay.
It's all right.
It's okay.
It's your
Thank you.
name is there.
Jazakallah khair.
Yaqub, Brother Yaqub.
Brother Yusuf will say when it's done.
Yeah, done. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank you so much
Okay.
for everyone.
Okay.
And
Okay.
Professor, yeah. Professor,
Thank you, brothers
yeah,
and sisters.
yeah. Thank you.
Assalamu
Jazakallah
alaikum.
khair. Walaikum salam.
Assalam wa rahmatullah.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi
May Allah bless you all.
Ameen,
Inshallah.
ameen.
Amin.
Next month, remember, next month our practice, our
Inshallah.
actual project preparation and funding.
Inshallah.
Inshallah.
Okay. Inshallah.
Assalamu alaikum.